Hey, what's up guys, it's Killen here, and today we're going to make a lo-fi hip-hop beat from scratch on the OP1. Damn! So usually I have like a script for my YouTube videos, but today we're going to go off script, kind of just to change the format of my videos. If you guys have some sort of feedback on that, let me know, because I'm always open. I also want to mention that we've reached over 100 subscribers, which doesn't sound like a lot, but I think that it is. So I want to thank you guys for watching these videos. I'm trying to be as informative as possible, and if you guys have any questions or tips on how I make my videos or questions about the OP1, just let me know and I'd be happy to assist you guys. So we're going to start out with this really cool chorusy guitar riff by producer slash guitar player Frank Ivy. Check him out on Instagram, and he's got a lot of stuff on Spotify as well. He's producing some really cool music, so check that out. Here's the riff. I don't want to say it sounds like Mac DeMarco because that's what everyone says when they hear chorus on guitar, but it has that sort of borderline goofy chorus guitar effect, which I love, and I think it works really well with any kind of lo-fi hip-hop feel. So let's start chopping. Okay, so I changed the pitch of this one. I'm still not sure if it's gonna work, but I feel like it's too loud, so what I'm gonna do is lower the volume. So to do that, I press Shift and then lower it like this. Just twist left on the red knob. I think I've sort of come up with something. It's still not completely there yet. At this point, I've got this chord, the same chord an octave up, second chord, third chord. I sort of think of the D as a passing chord going to the C. And then I've got this thing, which I'm still not sure I'm going to use yet, to be honest. At this point, I haven't really changed much about the chord progression. I've just sort of added little textures around it. Damn! Okay, so I think I got something. I don't want to just play to a click. I'm going to add drums and then play the sample to the drums. Shift 8 to go to drums. I'm going to go use my kit, LK Kit 1. Eventually I'm going to be giving this kit away once my site is updated and ready to go. I'm going to lower the volume of that hi-hat. I kind of like the sound of it. I'm also going to lower the pitch. That's better. And I'm going to use this snare. I might pitch it up a little bit actually. With drums, I usually use endless just because it quantizes everything so you don't have to worry about playing the beat properly. So the easiest way of doing it is by starting with kick and snare, and then afterwards you could program the hi-hat. So I'll set it to 8th notes, and I'm also going to swing the 8th notes a little bit to give it that swag. I don't think I missed any beats there, so let's try that out. Okay, so I think it's a little bit too swung actually. I just need a little bit, like almost straight, but just that little bit of swing. That's what I want. Just to be clear, 50% is totally straight, and if you go below 50%, it goes into this weird like triplet thing. It's like reverse straight. I never play like that. So anyways, let's go to 58. Let's try that. No, that's not swung enough. Let's try 63. But let's go straight into recording that. Okay, so the next thing I would add is hi-hats. For lo-fi stuff, usually the hi-hats are pretty simple. I mean, there's always exceptions, but I'm gonna stick to 8th note hi-hats. I'm gonna change the endless function to 8th notes here. So I just discovered a little weirdness with endless using the hi-hat. If I move the swing past 50% with eighth notes on the hi-hat, it plays like a shuffly triplet feel. So that's not what I want. I want just straight eighth notes for the hi-hat. So I just move it to 50%. I wonder what it sounds like if I go to 40%. What does that do? Yeah, that doesn't work either. So just straight 50% for the hi-hats. I'll show you another little trick here as well. So I'm going to audition the hi-hat and show you what I do with it. So that's a nice little trick. You keep one finger on C to keep the eighth notes going, and then if you want to switch the pitch of the hi-hats, you could just move your finger to other notes. So this is a good way of keeping your hi-hat notes quantized with the rest of the beat while still being able to change the pitch of the hi-hats if you want. So right off the bat, I think the hi-hats are too loud. They're also a bit intrusive, I find. So what I do for that is I add an effect on them. Usually I put spring on the hi-hats. So I'll go down to spring. That's too much. So it adds a bit of vibe to them. It kind of softens them up a bit so they're not too intrusive and they fit better in the beat. Another way to soften up the hi-hats is to press Shift 4 and head to the tremolo LFO. And you could change the waveform here to kind of soften them up. So that sounds pretty good. Let's head back to the guitar riff, and I think the drums will inspire a few more ideas and help kind of propel things along. One thing I could say about chopping is don't get discouraged. It's obviously not like a conventional way of playing the keyboard, but eventually you just sort of get a feel for how you've chopped things and you incorporate that into a beat. I feel like I'm almost there, so I'm just gonna keep trying a few things and I'll get back to you.
Okay, bye.
So I made a pretty big and annoying mistake that you guys will probably make at some point. So I recorded the guitar track on the drum track. So now I have to go back and redo the drums. So let this be a lesson. Make sure you don't do that. It's fucking annoying. So another way around this actually is to just take the second half of the beat, because this is an 8-bar groove. So you take the second half and paste it to the first half. So that's what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna make sure that I loop the part that I wanna copy paste. So I'm gonna go ahead 4 bars, 1, 2, 3, 4, in. So now it's just going to copy what's in the loop. So I press Shift, Lift. So copy that. And then I'm going to copy it again. So now it's looping the 8 bars. I should have the whole pattern here. Let's check it out. Okay, so to make sure I don't make that mistake again, I'm going to press 2. So now I'm recording on the second track. There's nothing there, so I don't have to worry about losing anything. So another thing I forgot about was the tremolo LFO on the sampling as well. So I'm going to press Shift 4, tremolo LFO. So I think that that might be actually a bit too intense. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the envelope. You'll notice that right now it's on the zigzag. I don't think that's really going to work for this effect, so I'm going to go to the curved wave like that. And that might be a bit too strong. So I'm going to put the mix down to maybe 20. I'm going to set it to maybe 25 actually. The one thing I could say about recording in the OP1, you can't undo things, but at the same time you kind of have to be fearless. You have to just go for it. Eventually your chops are just going to get better and you're going to be able to record more efficiently. Wish me luck. Right off the bat. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, that's not bad. There's a couple things that I might have done differently, but I think for the sake of this video, I'm just gonna keep plowing along. So in my last YouTube video, I used bass face, which is perfect for this style of music. So Shift 8, cluster bass face. So that's the first one that's there. I think it works pretty well. So let's try that one. In theory, this bass line should be simple, but I find it's just a little bit too cheesy going G, A, B. So I'm trying to figure a different way around that. Okay, so I've decided to go with a sub bass. We're gonna see where this goes. I'm definitely gonna add the tremolo LFO to the bass as well, so let's do that. So once again, Shift 4, tremolo, and you could change the envelopes. You know the deal, we've done this a bunch now. I think for the bass, you can make it a bit more intense. So I'm gonna put it at 40. I'm not crazy about the frequency of this bass. I'm actually gonna cut a bunch of the highs. So Shift 3, go to nitro. And you could cut, this is great for bass and for drums as well. You could cut a lot of the frequencies, make it really subby. Okay, I'm gonna raise the volume a bit. Before I forget, I've done this once already. Press 3, make sure you go on a different track to record bass. Don't f it up. So I'm happy with that bass. Now I'm going to experiment with a synth melody to put over top of that. So that would be on track 4, synth, and let's check out synth sounds. We'll find something that we like. For some reason, this kind of reminds me of Sugar Ray, summer of '97. Probably the best summer of my life. Okay, so it took me a while to get to that sound, so I'm just gonna review how I got there. So Shift 8, this is actually one of my own sounds that I loaded into the OP1. It's called Diva Flute. And then from there, I went to effects, so Shift 3. I added spring. It's very subtle though, so here, check the difference. It's like very, very subtle, but it adds a little bit of a spice over top. It makes it a bit more buttery. And then over top of that, I added a LFO. So same thing again, tremolo. Every track is pumping to the same sort of vibe on the quarter notes. So now that we have the drums, chords, bass, and melody, you might think that we're done, but we're actually not. So a lot of the lo-fi sound actually comes from the master. The master is the button with all the lines here, so it's also, I guess, like the mixing button. So now I'm just gonna take a second to mix this in my headphones, and I'll come up with something. Okay, so that's a bit better. Basically, you could mix the levels of each of your instruments. So drums was track 1, track 2 was the sample, track 3 was the bass, and track 4 was the melody. And then from there, you could go to 2, you could mix the whole master as well, so if you want more lows. And then from there, you could go to number 4. So this kind of adds a distortion to the whole track. And you could also set the release. Let's kind of tweak the release and the drive and see what we like. Currently, I have the drive set to, I think it was at 75, and the release is at 30. So let's tweak it a little bit. And so that is my workflow making a beat on the OP1. I hope this was informative for you guys today. I hope you learned something. I admit that this beat is not as strong as the last one that I posted in my last YouTube video. It's kind of tough making beats on the fly like that, but that's my workflow. So thanks again for watching. I'm always making YouTube videos now, so I'll have a bunch of new content coming soon. Make sure to like and subscribe, and as they say, smash that notification button, and I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.